because sometimes God will show you who you are before life ever catches up. And your job is to keep walking with him until the outside begins to match what he already placed on the inside. Tonight I want to talk about something that feels very real to me right now. Now, this isn't coming from a place of having everything figured out. It's not from a place of pretending that the journey has been easy. It's from a place, though, of looking back and realizing that sometimes God will show you who you are before your life has any evidence of it. And that is what I want to talk about tonight. Now, when God shows you who you are before life catches up, that's part of becoming, because becoming doesn't always start when everything looks good. Becoming doesn't always start when people recognize you. Becoming doesn't always start when the doors open, when the opportunity shows up, or even when the room notices you, when the outside begins to match what God has placed on the inside of you. Sometimes becoming starts in a place where nothing around you looks like what God showed you. I'm a living witness. Now, sometimes becoming starts when your circumstances are still very hard. Sometimes becoming starts when you are still rebuilding. Sometimes becoming starts when the only proof you have is what God showed you. And you know what? That is why vision is so very important. One of my favorite scriptures, Habakkuk 2, says, write the vision and make it plain. And then it goes on to say, though it tarry, wait for it, because it'll surely come. It won't be overdue a single moment. One version says that scripture meant something to me because vision doesn't always happen immediately. Sometimes there's a distance between what God shows you and what your life actually looks like. There can be this gap between the vision and the evidence. There can be a gap between who God says you are and what your current circumstances are saying. There can be a gap between what you saw in your spirit and what you see in your bank account, your home, your relationships, your confidence, your business, or your daily life. And that gap is where something begins to happen. That's where becoming is happening. Because for me, one of those most personal parts of my story is the white suit vision you keep hearing me talk about. After I gave my life to Christ in October of 1992, life didn't suddenly become easy. I was still facing real life. I was a mother. I had children. I was going through abuse, coming out of it. I was trying to survive. There was a season where I didn't even have a car. There was a season when I was working part-time, making $7.50 an hour. There was a season where life and living did not look anything like what I believed God had placed on the inside of me, But see, God gave me that vision. I saw myself stepping out of that luxury vehicle, dressed in all white as a businesswoman. And listen, I need you to understand my reality didn't match that vision by any means. Nothing around me looked like that. Again, I didn't even have a car. I didn't have a business life. I didn't have a polished image. I didn't have any evidence of this woman God showed me. All I had was the vision, and that's all I needed. And sometimes that's where becoming begins, because it's not with the evidence, because nothing looked like it, but it's with identity. God will show you who you are before your life ever catches up. And when he does that, you have a choice. You can either agree with your circumstances, what you see around you, or you can agree with what God showed you. I chose to agree with that vision and what God showed me. Now, that doesn't mean you ignore reality either. It doesn't mean you pretend things are not hard, because they were. It doesn't mean you act like you don't have bills or responsibilities or pain or disappointment or work to do. But what it does mean is that you stop letting your current condition be the final say-so or definition of who you are. Because sometimes life will call you broken, but God will call you becoming. Life may call you behind, but God may be developing you. Life may call you disqualified, but God may be preparing you. Now listen, life may call it an ending, but God is using it as part of the becoming. That is why I don't believe becoming is just a cute word. Becoming is a process of agreeing with what God showed you, even when life is still catching up. And you know what? This weekend, coming out of the Indiana Black Expo, I had one of those moments where I could feel the weight of becoming, but in a different way. Not because everything is perfect, not because I have arrived, not because there's nothing else to build, but because I could see the evidence. I could see a piece or pieces of what God had been showing me all along and what he's been doing. I could see people responding. I could see conversations happening. I could see people connecting with the work, with the message, with the story, with the purpose. And when someone says, I saw you on YouTube, or someone recognizes something you've been building, listen, it does something to you on the inside. It does. Not in a prideful way, at least not for me, but in a confirming way. Because you know what it took to get there. You know what you had to walk through. You know what you survived. You know what you had to believe before anybody else could see it. And that is what I want to say to somebody tonight. You're not here by chance. Don't despise the season where only you and God can see it. Don't despise the season where the vision feels too heavy for your current life. Don't despise the season where you have to become privately before people recognize it publicly. Now listen, the mountaintop is not where the becoming begins. The mountaintop is often confirmation of what God has already been building in the hidden places. And that is important because sometimes we tend to wait for outside recognition before we believe what God has to say. We wait for people to clap for us. We wait for someone to validate us. We wait for the numbers to prove it. We wait for the room to open. We wait for the audience to come. We wait for somebody else to say, yes, I see it. But what if God already showed you? What if the vision was already enough to begin? What if the reason you cannot let go of that dream, that calling, that idea, that version of yourself is because it was never just imagination? What if God was showing you a glimpse of who you were becoming? Philippians 1:6 says, he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Now that means that God does not just begin things randomly. He finishes what he starts. So when God begins a work in you, he knows how to complete it. But completion doesn't always happen quickly. There's a process, and that's the part we always want to skip over, the process. There's development, there's pruning, there's healing, there's discipline, there's obedience, there is order, there is becoming. And a lot of times we want the finished picture without the process that forms the person. But listen, God is not just interested in giving us the picture. He is forming the person who can carry it. So now when I think about that white suit vision, I don't just think about clothes. I think about identity. I think about dignity. I think about being covered. I think about being restored. I think about being able to walk in a room with peace, not because life never tried to break me, but because God preserved me. I think about becoming the woman God showed me before my reality looked like her. And that is what I want women to understand. Listen, you may not look like the vision yet. You may not look like the vision yet. Your confidence may not feel like the vision yet. Your business may not look like the vision yet. But don't you give up, because there's something that's Listen, your home may not look like the vision yet. Your relationships may not look like the vision yet. Your daily life may not look like the vision yet. But listen, don't let your current picture and circumstances make you throw away what God showed you. I could have done that so many times, because sometimes the vision comes first, then the becoming, then the evidence. And when the evidence starts showing up, you have to steward it. That's something I'm learning even now. So when God is starts allowing people to see you, when he starts opening doors, when he starts bringing people in contact with your story, your message, or your work, visibility is not just a blessing, it's a responsibility. Because Matthew 5 says that you are the light of the world, a city that is set on a hill that cannot be hidden. But that light has to be stewarded. It has to be carried with humility. It has to be carried with order. It has to be carried with consistency. It has to be carried with wisdom. And that's where I am right now with Life with Shon. I realize that if I'm going to share this journey, if I'm going to teach from this place, if I'm going to encourage women who are rebuilding, becoming, healing, and walking in purpose, then I can't just show up randomly. There has to be a rhythm. People need to know what they can expect from me. But, more than that, I need to know how I am stewarding what God has given me. Because a message without rhythm, It can get lost. Yeah, I can see that very easily. A gift without order can wear you out. A story without stewardship can become scattered. And I don't want to just tell my story. That's not what this is all about. I want to teach from it. I want to help another woman recognize herself in it, because I know I'm not the only one. I want another woman to say, maybe I'm not finished. Maybe God is still working on me. Maybe what I saw was real. Maybe my life is just not caught up yet, but that doesn't mean the vision was false, because that's why the Becoming series matters to me. Because becoming is it's not about pretending. It's not about performance. It's not about comparison, competition. It's not making your life look polished, but becoming is about alignment. It's about identity. It's about agreeing with God while he forms you. Listen, becoming is about holding on to the vision when the evidence is delayed. Now, it's about letting God heal the places that try to harden you. It's about allowing him to make you whole enough to carry what he showed you. And it's also about recognizing that when doors open, you still need God. When people start seeing you, you still need God. When the room starts to recognize you, guess what? You still need God. When the evidence starts showing up, the houses, the cars, the money, you still need God, because visibility is not the goal. Obedience is. Stewardship is. Purpose is. The goal is not just to be seen. The goal is to become who God called you to be, and let your life be a light for somebody else. That's what it's all about. So listen, tonight, I want to encourage the woman who is still in that gap, the gap between what God showed you and what your life actually looks like, the gap between the vision and the evidence, the gap between who you are becoming and what your current situation is saying. Listen, don't quit in the gap. Don't throw away the vision because it's taking time, longer than what you wanted it to. Don't assume God has changed his mind because the process is longer than you expected. Listen, don't let a hard season convince you that what God showed you wasn't real. Listen, write the vision, pray over it, grow into it. Let God form you. Let him heal you. Let him discipline you. Let him bring order to your life. Let him teach you how to carry what he showed you. Now, and when the evidence begins to appear, don't forget where it came from. Don't forget the God who showed it to you before anybody else could see it. Do not forget the season where you had to believe with no applause. Don't forget the version of you that kept going when life didn't match the vision, because she mattered too. The woman in process matters. The woman rebuilding matters. The woman believing with tears in her eyes matters. The woman working with little evidence matters. The woman who is choosing faith when life looks opposite. That is becoming. And I believe there are women watching who have seen something in their spirit that life is not caught up to yet. Maybe you saw yourself healed. Maybe you saw yourself confident. Maybe you saw yourself building. Maybe you saw yourself free. Maybe you saw yourself walking in purpose. Perhaps you saw yourself using your voice. Maybe you saw yourself standing again after a season that was designed to break you. And listen, I want to tell you tonight, do not dismiss what God showed you. Protect it. Pray over it. Grow into it. And keep becoming. Because sometimes God will show you who you are before life ever catches up. And your job is to keep walking with him until the outside begins to match what he already placed on the inside. Now listen, if this teaching, this message encouraged you, please like this video, subscribe to Life with Shon, and share it with another woman who needs this reminder. Listen, and if you are in your becoming season, comment becoming below, because your life may not look like the vision yet, but that does not mean God is still not working. You are still becoming.